Did you know that AgeTech Atlanta started as a local meetup and is now expanding across North America? In this week's episode of the AgeTech podcast, I talked with Jeff Gray, the founder of AgeTech Atlanta, about how they're creating game-changing opportunities for startups and about their CES debut. There's a lot to unpack, so let's dive right in. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you, as always.
Likewise. So, in favor of those who have never heard of AgeTech Atlanta for some reason, tell us a little bit about it and about its expansion.
Sure. So I am have been professionally based out of the Atlanta Tech Village in Atlanta, Georgia, the fourth largest tech hub, and for years, since 2016. And during that time, as I had gotten into age tech with my own venture, over the years, people had continually come to me for introductions and cross connections. And I was cajoled into having a networking event. So 3 years ago in August, we held what would become the first AgeTech Atlanta meeting. But early on, we stuck to a format of having three people present the innovations they were working on. And these presenters range from small, just have an idea on the back of an envelope, to some pretty big companies. And we just stuck with it every other month. And a couple months in, we named it AgeTech Atlanta. 3 years later, we're the fastest growing age tech community, I think, in the world. We have had a cadence of in-person, really high quality gatherings in Atlanta every other month for 3 years. Twice have produced the Age Tech Challenge Innovation Showcase at the American Society on Aging. Saw you there last year, and you gave your keynote. And we produce a lot of other content as well. So the big news is that over the last year, we've been communicating with age tech leaders around the US and made a decision to open new communities throughout North America. So as of today, we now have Age Tech Los Angeles, Denver, Chicago, New York City, Washington, D.C., Toronto, Boston, and we're about to open San Francisco. We'll have those communities. I don't think everybody asks, are you going to open more? No time soon, but we're really thrilled. We've had our first meetups in most of those communities already, led by a rock star cast of people that live and work and have been in the age tech world for some folks from the earliest days. Others are newcomers. But anyway, that's the big news, is that we are now somewhat of a North American spanning organization, and we're really excited about it.
It's super exciting to have AgeTech Atlanta expanding nationally to the biggest tech hubs in America.
Yeah, we're thrilled about it. People ask what's our mission, and overarchingly, we are looking to support the innovator. And Karen, for us, an innovator is not just a startup founder; it's a researcher, it's an educator. It could be a corporate entrepreneur or a company looking to expand its product lines or differentiate in the space. And we support those folks in four key areas, and we're getting better at this over time. But what we hear resoundingly is that those folks are looking for connections to community, content, consumers or customers, and capital. And so through the in-person events and then a lot of kind of asynchronous, you might call it, mentoring and communication and one-on-ones, we try to help those innovators make those connections that can drive their innovations and their companies forward.
Wonderful. It is so needed. As someone who's started a company before, I know how important it is to have that supportive community of peers that you can confide in and connect with and reach out to when you have any challenges or when you need any introductions.
Do you agree that the peer-to-peer stuff is really important? We feel like it is, just to be able to connect with somebody who's already been there, or even if it's the two of you are at the same stage, but you can bounce ideas off one another.
Absolutely. I think it's invaluable because it gets really lonely sometimes.
Yeah, I always say that I think being a startup founder is the only job harder than being a family caregiver. Can be a lonely journey. You don't know what you don't know. You're constantly questioning your own judgment. And just having some peers really helps. We're about a month away from launching a private Slack channel, which is designed for this exact purpose. Look for us to launch that again in about a month. But our goal is to let everybody have a place where they can, whether they wake up with at midnight with something on their mind, or they have a question in the middle of the day, to be able to jump in there and ask questions, share content, or and also promote their own businesses and what they're doing. So we're excited about that. It's about a month away. So you're the first person that you're the first to know. It's not a
Ooh.
secret, but we haven't really talked about it yet. And
So
by
I
the
got
way,
a
so,
scoop.
you know, you got to scoop. Yeah, yes, exactly. By the way, that idea came. So I think the magic that we have is in these incredible community CEOs that really use their talents and creativity in all different ways. And we, as a team, we meet once a week to just share ideas. And this idea came out of one of our weekly all hands on deck calls, and we move quickly, and we're excited to bring this to the community.
Super exciting. One other exciting thing that we've previously discussed is your presence at CES.
Yes, I'm excited to tell you about that. I've been to CES 3 years in a row, twice exhibiting, and once last year at large, and just roving the floor and interviewing founders, and of course, hanging out like everybody does at the AARP AgeTech Collaborative sort of pavilion. But I came back last year and I met with one of our main partners and sponsors, the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. And I said, Atlanta needs to be on that exhibit hall floor next year. We're doing things as a community in Atlanta that other communities aren't, and we need to be there. But we've got great innovators. And so took a little time, a little doing, maybe a little salesmanship on my part, but we got it done. And so with their help and other sponsorship, we will have our first exhibit in the Venetian Expo Hall. We'll be in the digital health section, which, by the way, for the first year, digital health has now been merged into the Venetian Expo Hall. It has formerly been over in the North Hall in the Las Vegas Convention Center. So it's really great so folks don't have to bounce back and forth, because so much of the age tech innovation is in and around the smart home stuff that's in the Venetian. I don't know if you've been there before, but I think you have. So we're really excited about it. We'll be announcing 12 great companies that are going to come on this incredible Atlanta road trip, if you will. And they will all rotate through a shared booth, be able to exhibit, and also be able to enjoy networking through the other exhibitors. I've always found if you are there to exhibit and to make connections, you need to be able to be at a booth, but also to break away, because so much of the opportunity is in the other booths, right? There's people from all over the globe that are potential partners from you that also happen to be exhibiting. So we are really excited about it. So just it's a small start. We don't have it's not a huge booth, but we'll be there. That's for sure. And we're really excited about it.
I'm excited about it too. So, after running AgeTech Atlanta for 3 years and now expanding nationally into Canada, what do you see as benefits for start in Atlanta versus some of the other tech hubs? Are there any unique challenges or benefits?
Yeah, Atlanta is a unique place, but I will say, having been to all these cities, I feel each of the cities where we have communities offers some really unique benefits. Atlanta it's a really welcoming town. It is a great place to grow and network quickly. Southern hospitality is a real thing. It's easy to reach out to people and get a chance to maybe pitch a really big company to try your product or give you some feedback or do a pilot. Really great venture community there as well. And then, of course, the Metro Chamber and the city are this tremendously aggressive in terms of all of the economic development benefits that they work so hard to offer. And all that's we do have folks who are actually talking to us and want to make connections about potentially having a headquarters there or a second headquarters. But it's just, I think the key is it is a very welcoming city. It's a big little town. And I think that really helps. We've got tons of Fortune 500 headquarters there. We excel in age tech, life sciences, biotech, SaaS, fintech, internet security, digital health. So there are just tons. From a venture perspective, there's been a lot of wealth created from the founders who've gone on to have fantastic exits. And those folks are incredibly loyal to Atlanta and give back in a really big way. And so whether it's casual mentoring or the opportunity to pitch a big client, and of course, places like the Atlanta Tech Village, I always tell people I can't imagine a better place to start up than at the Tech Village. It is the most simple model for serendipitously. It's structured to help you have serendipitous connections, and it really does work. So it's a great place. I'm biased because our headquarters there. By the way, one of our best partners is the Atlanta Tech Village itself, who provides us with a great office suite and enables us to give away 2 scholarships every 6 months. So today we have Melody Roberts with Live Labs and Bryce Folsom with eLife, both in there on 6 month rent-free residencies to get their projects off the ground. Melody's actually moved her company from Chicago to Atlanta, so it's a way for her to orient herself to the Atlanta landscape. So we award those scholarships every 6 to 8 months. We now have a way to let folks that are just starting out or at a pivotal place in their journey have a free home base.
That is so amazing and so helpful for startups who are just starting out.
Yeah,
So
rent is a real pressure. Just having a little bit of rent-free breathing room is a big deal.
it is a big deal.
Plus, they get to hang out with me all the time.
If you
What
ever
could
get to Atlanta, I do recommend hanging out with Jeff. You must get so many entrepreneurs who are just starting out and not really sure what to build, but definitely want to build something in the age tech ecosystem.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges or opportunities that you see that are out there available that you recommend startups to go after?
That is a really interesting question. I bet you and I can have a long talk about this, by the way. So, a couple of things. I think there's an opportunity and a challenge rolled up all into one. I don't know if you see this, but do you notice there's so many of the founders in age tech are it's like the venture is led by a personal story? Do you notice that as well?
99% of the times.
Yeah. So you come out of a personal experience, and it's probably a transformative experience. You have a mom or a dad that has Alzheimer's or died with the disease, Parkinson's, family caregiver issues, all kinds of profound issues that have driven you in. And that actually can present the biggest challenge because if you take a first time founder, and let's be honest, being a first time founder is very difficult. There's so much you haven't been through. And advisors help only so much. Sometimes advisors can be confusing. And so I find that what people don't do is vast amounts of customer discovery. They're inclined to that mom survey problem, right? You tell your mom your idea and they tell you they love it. And I think that's both the challenge and the opportunity. You got to do a lot of work. You need to find ways to put your product idea in front of people and let them love it or hate it or somewhere in between and give you feedback. And it's just not a short process. I think generally what I see is people raise some family and friends money, a little pre-seed round, and get a full head of steam, and they build something that they think needs to be built. And then they've got to completely retrench and go all the way back to the process. Number one is you got to do your work on the discovery side. It's hard enough anyway. You can do all that work and get some false signals. It's not easy. So I think that's the biggest thing. I will say in the US market, there tends to be a propensity to go after, Medicare Advantage, senior living, private pay senior living, AAA, PACE program kind of folks. I always say to everybody, because a lot of these innovations that I see could go different directions. Let's take applications for digital literacy, right? There's some of those out there. and helping seniors bridge the digital divide and to onboard them and make them more successful in navigating a small screen environment. Medicare in the US, the budget for the Medicare budget is $1 trillion, just a little bit less, 900 and some billion dollars. And so you think that's where I got to go. Maybe keep in mind, travel and tourism in the United States is a $2.2 trillion industry and 9 trillion globally. And so you got to be thinking about travel, tourism, transportation, retail, home improvement, real estate. There are so many finance and fintech, right? There's just so many places where you can create innovations that address the needs of older adults or the loved ones that care for them that may not just be in that one wheelhouse of Medicare Advantage senior living where everybody goes right out of the gate. So I don't know if that's answers the question, but that's some of the encouragement that we give. I don't like to use the word advice. Is look broadly and do a lot of customer discovery.
I totally agree. I think that, like you said, so many entrepreneurs have that personal experience and it leads them down path of building a product that is useful and helpful and can bring value, but is also in a very competitive and saturated category.
Yep.
While if you just want to build something in AgeTech, there's so much opportunity out there in markets that are worth trillions of dollars that are
Yep.
still not being addressed.
I think there's a sentence that I hear founders say to me that when I hear it 6 months later, that founder has been struggling. And it's something along the lines of, I founded this company and I'm building what I needed when I went through this. That's dangerous ground. You can only extract so much from your own personal experience. And by the way, I don't know about you, but I see a lot of applications, mobile apps that are designed to help people manage what you call a care circle, right? We're all going to use this app and do something. I always say, I still haven't seen anything better than the most brilliant care circle management software ever invented. And it's called a group chat. And my dad went through a serious crisis. It was all hands on deck for about a year. Thankfully, he got through that and is doing well. And as much knowledge as I think I have of what's available in the age tech space, I didn't download a third party app to manage my dad's care. We lived and breathed in group chat and assigned tasks and shared calendars. And can you pick this up and scan the bottle of the prescription, said, here's what's this is that CVS drug, go get this. And so it's hard for me to believe that you could invent an app where I have to download it, create an account, install it, share it, go through all of those steps and have it be better than this brilliant thing that's on the Android and iPhones that most of us carry. So
Agreed.
maybe I'm a little pessimistic there. I don't know.
I completely agree. I think what's missing for caregivers these days is not a means to communicate with the existing care circle, but rather to delegate work to TaskRabbits in a way that you can trust that they will get the job done and also that they are vetted people that you can trust to deliver something or come into your parents' home.
Yeah. I think it's also that how big is the problem you're solving the thing. My dream application, I wish someone would invent is a navigator. We as a family spend a lot of time getting care reinstated, right? Physical therapy is still needed, but we run the course. We have all these steps to go through to get reinstated. And that's just one example, but the navigation part of this puzzle for care is huge. Man, I'll tell you, wheezing with some application of generative AI and some real intelligence to where I could have an agent that I could delegate those tasks to and say, go find this out, right? Make these phone calls. I know we're probably a little ways away from it, but that's a really big problem. That's a huge problem. And it's an example of a problem I think somebody's going to tackle and really do something with that could be impressive. Those kind of ideas. I love them. And I think novelty, by the way, I think novelty is so important as well for a founder. And I don't think they often are asking themselves, is this a novel approach? Or am I just doing something that's just been done and we're not really that much different, or we're 10% better. I think that gets overlooked a lot. By the way, I think I don't have the data on this, but I think you do see experienced founders who've had one exit maybe, or a startup, even if it didn't succeed, but they've been through it once. I think you see those founders doing a lot better.
That's statistics. I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, it's out there in general. I don't know about in age tech.
Before we wrap up, I would like to ask you, Jeff, to take out your crystal ball
Ah,
and try to predict best case scenario what the AgeTech ecosystem could look like 5, 10, or 20 years from now.
well, a couple of things. That's a really good question. No rehearse, no practice on my part here, so I'm going to shoot from the hip. A couple of things. First of all, I think the big winners will be age tech adjacent, and there'll be lots of them. And so these will be companies that a lot of the winners in the space, these are companies that scale and become really significant ventures and return capital to their investors. I think a lot of them will be adjacent. There's a great app that's just launched that does scam protection. And they're targeting the senior market, but this is a great app. Like, I've started using it. Okay. So I think that's number one. 5 years out, the big success stories will be in adjacent verticals or serve more than one market. Because I don't think, like fintech or SaaS, I don't see age tech as that kind of a powerhouse, discrete, siloed vertical where you're going to have companies that are $1 billion companies that are pure play age tech. So that's probably the biggest thing that I would foresee, is that the winners will be adjacent and not necessarily only serve older adults. So that's probably the biggest thing I think I would see on the horizon. I think we would logically expect to see more venture capital interested in the marketplace. Today, I think it's still a fairly small slice, but every day we get calls from, I got a note from a VC the other day that said, do you know anybody that's in the death space, the after loss space? We're really interested in it,
I know somebody.
and yeah. And so, well, yeah, same here. So I said, it's funny you should ask, right? More venture capital. We can try to quantify it, but I would say you'd see maybe as much as 5 times more capital deployed into this space in 5 years than you do today, maybe even more. So those would be the two things: lots more capital. I think we definitely are all hopeful that we have some ventures that are doing great. I think there haven't been as many exits in all sectors, but some exits, those always help fuel more innovation. So I think we'll see more exits. And I think also we'll see more Series A and Series B rounds. I think right now in our space, there are fewer Series A rounds in the age tech space that would be compared to the startup ecosystem at large or in other verticals. I think you'll see that. I think, by the way, I tell you why some of that is. So let's say you're a really, really great venture addressing the needs of senior living, and you're just killing it. That ARR is going to be underneath contracted services. That's not going to be pure SaaS, right? So you're having access to less growth capital from the standpoint of sheer numbers of investors that are interested. We are not in a pure SaaS model, but your business is coming through executed long-term contracts. It's just a different model. It scales differently, right? Grows differently. So I think as VCs get more comfortable with the way that business works, we'll see more investment. I don't know. What do you think?
You're probably right. I think you're probably right, but we'll see. Time will tell.
Yes, we will. We will. But I think what we do know is this growing industry is not going anywhere but up. So I think it's just a matter of how big and how many and how much we grow over the next 5 years, 10 years,
20 years,
20 years. Well, I'll say I am more interested in my own journey relative to this whole space. So I'm in my early 60s, and the more I'm in the space, the more I see the need for the innovations that I'm trying to help foster, because I don't think anybody that is 87 today and maybe is got some real serious challenge and is underserved in certain areas, maybe struggling with areas of care, cost, mobility, independence, that needs help. I don't think any of those people saw themselves there. Right? I don't sit here today saying there's where I'm going to be. And so I'm a little bit trying to foster the innovation that might support me, honestly, and people like me, quite frankly.
I'm not sure that people who reach their late 80s, 90s today have ever imagined that they would get to this age because their parents didn't.
Yep.
So it's very hard to imagine what your life would be like.
True. I think for us, I think there might be a tendency to believe it will be easier than it will be when you sit at 55 and 60 and look forward. Age still does come with challenges. That's a fact of life.
Absolutely. So before we wrap up, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you would like to talk about?
No, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to share about our growth and where we're going. And I hope that as many people that see this will be at CES will come and visit us. We hope to see lots of friendly faces. And I probably have the most open door of anybody in the space. My phone number and my direct email are on my LinkedIn bio, and my DMs are always open. So I am very encouraging. If I can be of any help to anybody, you can email me, call me, text me, or send me a message. And either myself or Gordon or one of our other great team members, we're happy to help. So don't be shy.
Southern hospitality for sure.
That's right. That's right.
Jeff, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. And I wish AgeTech Atlanta lots of success with its expansion. And at CES, it's going to be so exciting.
It is. Thanks again for having me on the show. It's really always a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise. Thank you for watching this episode of the AgeTech Podcast. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and get notification buttons so you can get a notification whenever we publish a new episode. Until next time, stay humble, stay curious,